Hello friends, my name is Marines, and today I'm doing the Among Us book tag. I saw this from Break Even Books, but the tag started on Instagram with the Glittery Bookworm, and I will link both of those things down in the description so you can check them out. When I saw this tag, I thought that would be fun to do, and then I thought, well, it would be the most fun to do it with the people I play Among Us with, which is House Salt, so here they are.
Hey friends, it's Jordan from the Jordan Journals, and welcome to the Among Us collaboration.
Hi, I'm Nicole Sweeney. You can find me at Sweeney Says all over the internet or doing Star Squad stuff.
Hey guys, I'm Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, and I play Green.
Hey everyone, it's Kayla from Boogadoodles, and I am the purple crewmate.
Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Connor, and my channel name is super simple and easy. It's just Connor O'Brien, my name.
Hey, roll this page for Minimal Book here.
The first question is Lobby. Name the next book on your TBR. If you watch my channel, you know that I suck at TBRs. One book that is kind of on my extended TBR or something that I'm looking forward to picking up is The Space Between Worlds. It was one of my goals to read more sci-fi in 2020. How successful I've been, I don't know, because 2020, but this is one that I hope to pick up in the month of December.
The next book that I am going to be picking up is Beach Read by Emily Henry, a book I have only taken out from the library about a dozen times this year and never got around to reading. So hopefully this time is the time.
The next book on my TBR is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Because of work, I run a book club, and this is what we're reading this month.
I'm in the middle of Dread Nation by Justina Ireland, but I had to stop reading it in order to read my book club book for this week. So like that, I'm gonna get back into that. The next thing on my TBR that I have not actually started though is American Spy by Lauren Wilkinson, because it's due back to the library in a week.
A Song of Race and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown.
The next book on my TBR is The Duke and I, the first book in the Bridgerton romance series by Julia Quinn. This is going to be a TV show on Netflix, and basically it's Julie Andrews as Gossip Girl in the 1800s.
The next book on my TBR is going to be Gregor and the Curse of the Warmbloods by Suzanne Collins. This is the third book in the Underland Chronicles, I believe. I think I'm going to pick up this book next because I've stalled out on a bunch of other books recently. I'm in the middle of like 5 and I just can't seem to finish any. I have been really loving this series so far. I think I've rated the first 2 books 5 stars, so I know it's going to be one that I'm really going to enjoy. And because it's middle grade, I'm going to fly through it. So I think that I'm going to go with this one. I'm pretty sure both Kayla and Madi also really enjoyed this series, so all around, it's a good one.
The next question is Crewmate. Name an author you trust. I'm going to go with Catherine M. Valenti, who wrote one of my favorite series of all time, the Fairyland series. But in addition to Fairyland, I've read a handful more of her work. And even in the ones that the plot itself wasn't like for me, something like space opera, the writing is always so absolutely delicious that I feel like she could write anything. She could write a grocery list and I'd be like, let me read it.
An author that I trust is Laini Taylor. She has one of the best imaginations in fiction, and honestly, if she wrote the phone book, I would be grateful.
I really don't have a good answer to this question. Laini Taylor, maybe? Jane Austen? The most basic of answers. Also because she's dead, so she can't, do anything else. Much like in the game, she died, she didn't murder any of the crew, so we know she's safe.
As for an author that I trust, I don't know if I trust authors anymore. I'm tentatively going to go with Neil Shusterman. I've read 20 of his novels. He writes a lot of YA novels. I don't absolutely love every single one, but I do have some that I really, really love and some that I've just liked. So I feel like anytime that I'm picking up a Neil Shusterman book, I know that I'm at least going to enjoy the experience.
So my initial instinct is to say Sarah J. Maas, but I know what book club I'm in right now and I don't want to lose all my friends, so I'm going to say Jennifer Lynn Barnes, an author who I have loved absolutely everything that I have read from her, and I'm only looking forward to what she comes out with in the future.
An author I trust is Alyssa Cole, as you can tell from this hefty stack. She just has not strayed. She has not proven me wrong yet.
Erin Morgenstern can do nothing wrong.
The next question is Imposter. Name a book that betrayed you. For this, I'm going to go with The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. When this was announced, I had a feeling that it probably, I was not going to enjoy it. But I had come clean off of a reread of the original trilogy, and it reminded me of how much I enjoyed the original trilogy and all of sort of the characters I enjoyed and the layers baked in there that you can really read deeply into. So to put it in like Among Us terms, I don't know if you've ever like watched somebody and you're like, I don't know, that person is sus. But then something in you decides like, oh no, they've been standing there for a while. Obviously they're doing a task or something, and you like get close and then they kill you. That's kind of like what happened to me with Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Like at first I was like, ew, no. And then coming off of the reread, I was like, maybe? And then betrayal.
The last book I can remember betraying me was definitely Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, and House Salt read this in June, and I think we all regret that choice.
That fucking President Snow book. I don't remember the name, but you know the one. It was a betrayal.
A book that betrayed me is The Damned. I was expecting angsty romance, and that is not what I got for the most part.
One of my most ultimate betrayals was Reign of Serpents by Eleanor Herman, a series that had everything for me and that crashed and burned so very quickly in so few pages. 5 stars to 2 stars, the series just imploded on itself. Betrayal in the ultimate form.
Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. I love Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, but apparently I only love their books separate, not when they're writing together. I had really high hopes going into this one. I thought that I was absolutely going to love it. It's got a TV show that they made out of it. So I just had very high expectations that I didn't feel were met. I ended up just being like bored by this book, which is so disappointing. So this one betrayed me. I even tried watching the show after I finished the book, and it was very similar to the book. So I don't get it. I don't get why so many people love this book.
I think Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan, because I still liked it, but I expected to love it, and I didn't. So that's a betrayal.
Tasks. Name a book that took you a while to finish. For me, that was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I started this book 2 times and DNF'd it at some point, like probably within the first 100 pages. And then on the 3rd try, I was able to complete the whole thing. It's a heist, so you think it would be like faster than it actually is, but there's so many pauses for like quippy dialogue and flashbacks and stuff that it doesn't really go anywhere quickly, and I kept tripping up against that. So I started, I quit, I started again, I quit, and then the 3rd time I like slowly made my way through. So yeah, I spent a while with this one.
This is kind of a cheat answer, but The Girls of Storm and Shadow, the sequel to Girls of Paper and Fire, took me a while to finish because I borrowed it from the library and I didn't start reading it until the last like 2 to 3 days of my loan, and then the loan disappeared and I had to wait a couple months for it to come back to me. So that took me a couple months.
A book that took me a while to finish is definitely The City of Brass by S.A. Chakrabarty, and I started this in August, and that's how far I still am, so that says it all.
Probably The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, just because it's 1,000 pages, but I don't think it actually took me that long in the grand scheme of things, because I was reading it for Tome Topple, but I think it was this one.
A book that took me a while to finish is definitely Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. This one is one of those like over 1,000-page books. I think it's 1,100 pages in the hardcover. So that one took me months and months to finish, especially because I wasn't absolutely loving the main character that it follows, Dalinar. I know that's somewhat of an unpopular opinion because people love Dalinar, but yeah, that one took me 4 months. Another one that's taking me a really long time since I started it before March of this year is The Priory of the Orange Tree. It's back here. I'm 507 pages into this hunk of a book, and I still haven't finished it yet. I was buddy reading this too, and I still have not finished it. I will finish it eventually. I'm sorry.
For this one, I'm going to say The Damned by Renee Ahdieh, which I've actually not finished yet, so I feel like it's very appropriate for this question. I started this book back in October, and I'm still not even halfway through it yet. And yeah, I'm actively still reading it.
A book that took me a while to finish is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I disliked this one so much that it took me over a month to read.
Finally, it's Sabotage. Name a book that surprised you. For me, this is Nothing by Jen Teller. I just really weird things happen in this book, and I was not expecting it at all. And it was very creepy and haunting in a way like I don't know if I slept the night that I finished this book because my mind was just like turning.
Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor. I read this book at the end of last year, I think. What is time? I have no idea what I was actually expecting when I went into that book, but it is definitely not the chaotic, glorious thing that it was. So it surprised me in the best way. It was like a very, very good surprise.
The Queen and the Conquered by Case and Callender. It's just it's very unexpected. It had a lot of twists and turns that I wasn't really expecting, and I didn't really know what I expected going into it, but it wasn't really this, and I ended up really liking it.
I took this prompt kind of literally, but a book that surprised me is Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The twist in this one, tears.
And finally, a book that surprised me was definitely Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett. And I expected to like it, but I didn't expect it to love it, and for it to become one of my favorite series of all time. Found families, magical hacking, you can't go wrong.
So this book surprised me in a very good way, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, an author who I have hated everything I've read from her in the past and really had zero hopes of ever enjoying one of her books. Basically, I was never going to read her again, and this was chosen for the book club in November, and I actually really, really enjoyed it. I was so pleasantly surprised.
For a book that surprised me, I feel like books can surprise you in a good way and in a bad way, so I have two answers. The first is surprising me in a good way. That's The Changeling by Victor Laval. This one starts off so normal, like everything is fine, everything is normal, and then as the book goes along, it gets weirder and weirder and weirder, and I was just really enjoying that. So that one definitely surprised me, but in a good way. A book that surprised me in a bad way is Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. I was enjoying it fine enough. YA contemporary is not usually my thing, but there's a certain point in Everything Everything where I was just like, are you kidding me? This is where this is going? And so this book definitely shocked me, but in a bad way, and sabotaged the book for me.
That's it for us today. If you have read or would like to read any of the books that any of us have mentioned, let's chat down in the comments. I don't know if I say this enough, but my friends are pretty awesome. So I'm super thankful that when I had this weird, silly idea that they were all like, yes, we will. And they actually like bumped it up a step and were like, we're going to dress like our avatars, right? And I was like, oh man, yes, we are. So I appreciate them. And also like playing this game has been like a highlight during quarantine. So I love catching up with them when we play. I enjoy murdering them when I have to. So it goes.
Knowing who to trust in this game is so difficult, especially the longer we play, because we get better and better at lying to each other. Who's the most suspicious? I always am suspicious of Paige. She's such a good liar that I feel like, I don't know, I just can never tell if she's actually the imposter and is just really good at lying.
And if you ask me, Daddy Paige is the most sus.
Who is most sus? Definitely Paige. Paige. Look at that beanie. Fucking sus.
Who is the most sus? Definitely Paige. Always Paige. She's frequently the imposter. She vents a ton. Paige.
Paige is definitely sus. She is always super sus. I think because she was the best liar at the very beginning. So now, like before we kind of could tell each other's tells and all of that, she just like kept convincing us she wasn't the imposter.
I know everyone's gonna say that I'm the most sus, but if I'm not the imposter, it's Nicole, and so I think Nicole is the most sus because people will never vote her when she's the imposter. So
Who's the most sus? I would have to say Sweeney. She killed me so many times the last time we played Among Us. I would say either Sweeney or Paige.
And I will say Jordan has started playing like the latest out of all of us. She was in like the last round of people who joined in on gameplay. So she's always like running around confused because she's still trying to figure out the game and the maps and all that. But it's always really sus too. I'm always like, I don't know if you're like looking for something or about to murder me.
But then again, Maddie with her flower headband, during one meeting she said that she couldn't be the imposter because of her headband, so she could be suspicious. I also haven't played with Jordan yet, but it seems that Jordan is the imposter a lot, so she is also very sus. I am probably going to abstain from voting this round. I need more information.
How am I going to show that I have a plant on my head? My plant doesn't fit on my head. Does that work? I'm going to sit like this for the whole video.
And this is all the purple apparel that I have, unfortunately. And yes, that is string cheese in my hair because I have a cheese hat when we play Among Us, so gotta commit to the cause.
I'm gonna go with Good Omens. Do I have that book here? Yes.
Crewmate. Name an author you trust. None of them. They're all sus.
And finally, Sabotage. Name a book that surprised you.
I have started so many books in 2020 and just not continued them or not finished them, so I really need to remedy that.
And if you ask me, White is definitely the most sus.
I mean, really, it's just because she's better at being the imposter than the rest of us, so